I told y'all we were starting the deuces the right way. We coming in with a bang. Whenever you hear that MVP chant, you already know what's the deal. It's the most valuable podcast in the world. The Hitmen podcast. What's good? What's cracking? Chris checking in fresh out the plane from LA. I got an esteemed guest with me this week. I've been trying to track this man down for a little while. He's heavy in the streets, so I appreciate him joining me. Marquise Francis from Yahoo News and Yahoo Finance. What's the word, big dog? How you feeling?
What's going on? I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be in your presence.
Yeah.
I mean, that intro got me hyped, so
Yeah.
excited to connect with you tonight, brother.
1000%, big dog. How's the 22? How's the deuce been treating you so far? Everything smooth?
So far, so good. You know, just trying to level up, get more money, and enjoy life. Pretty much, yeah.
For those that's uninitiated, this is a big dog. This is a heavy hitter in the streets, man. Give them a little bit of your background, your expertise, if you will. It's a reason that, you feel me, we only have superstars on the show. I'm familiar with you, but just give the folks a little bit of sauce on where you come from and your background.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, I mean, currently I'm a national reporter, producer with Yahoo News and an anchor with Yahoo Finance, covering pretty much just a mix of national news, politics. I try to intertwine a bit of culture just to make it fun. And with finance, it's really a mix of social justice and finance, finding kind of, for a while where white people got it wrong, we trying to, correct things. And so that's what I do 9 to 5. I'm from North Jersey. But I've been living in Harlem for the past 7 years now. So definitely Harlem has been home for the past, coming up on a decade, which is crazy. That's obviously where we met. And yeah, I mean, I've just the world of news and media to me is exciting. I think for so long growing up, it was something I didn't necessarily understand. It seemed far fetched, but then as you get a little bit older, just recognizing, all these laws being passed around you, all these policies, and like how can you break it down to make it not only understandable but just touchable,
Yeah,
right? And
relatable.
just be
Yeah,
able to
palatable. Straight up.
relatable. Exactly. So as much as I can do that, if I could talk to somebody cool or Cardi B about politics, John Legend, and really just break it down, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Keep
So
going,
it's been a,
keep
it's
going.
been a
I
good
ain't even
ride.
gotta talk. Keep giving them bars, baby.
Yeah, no, it's been a good run. I mean, so I've been at Yahoo coming up on 5 years, and I've been able to sit down with Killer Mike, Charlemagne,
Word.
Valerie Jarrett, Stacey Abrams, just a bunch of dope names. Obviously, the pandemic slowed things down a bit, but like you said off the top, deuce, we coming for the head. So we got midterms this year, so we're gonna get out, travel the country a bit, and just talk to people. So I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in these streets, man. The word for 2022 is increase. I tell everybody that comes in my path that that's what we coming for. We coming for that and more. How has the pandemic affected broadcasting and reporting on some of the most culturally social and impactful issues over the past 18 to 24 months for you and just for the company in general? I'm sure you can go on and on and on about it, but from George Floyd to wading into the new metaverse and the space that we're dealing in now with cryptocurrency, how has not necessarily being able to hit the pavement like usual affected you and affected your ability to be a profound journalist?
Right. So yeah, basically when the pandemic hit, I feel like so many industries kind of imploded. Like, what are we gonna do? We need to be in person. The one thing that I think is always going to keep going is the news, right?
For
When
sure.
something bad happens, people want to know what happened. So it's crazy because in the beginning of March, I had this woman who was a doctor at NYU who I went to a couple times at in-person interviews. Like, what is COVID? What is it? You thought it was going to be gone for in a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden I had to pivot to doing these same interviews that I did in person from home, just like we're talking on Skype and on Zoom. And
Right,
so
right.
everything was about pivoting, and I think that's the beauty of being a good journalist is just understanding how to pivot, right? I know you travel a lot and you're on the road and you're doing different things, and I think you're always going to come up to different obstacles, and how can you pivot, how can you still get the story out? And so for the past 18 months I've been pretty much right here in my living room, telling stories, which is crazy, all over the world. I mean, I've reached out to people in Haiti when they had just natural disasters happening, their president being assassinated. I'm talking to people. I'm still connecting with people all over the world. I was able to still travel a little bit. I was in Louisville for Breonna Taylor.
Right.
March, I went back to
Minnesota.
Minneapolis 1 year after George Floyd. So I've been able to go a couple different places. But whether I'm here in my living room, just reaching out to people, or I'm on the road, it's just like, how can I tell the most impactful story? And I think it's really about understanding what that story is and what is needed, right? Some stories are best just written. Some stories really need a visual component. And so just really understanding what's really needed. And you mentioned the metaverse, NFTs. I mean, every day you log on to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, it's something new, right? What is
To this
Web3? What
day.
is this? What is that? 2022 you talked about increase, and I think people, specifically Black people, are trying to figure out, how can I get to the bag? And I
That's
think
why I got you
for
there.
some
Yeah.
people, last year might have been the PPP loans, and I think now folks are really trying to figure out, what's this NFT game, right? And how can I get into it? And I'm still a beginner, but I also understand people are creating content that you can buy in this like ulterior world, right? This metaverse. And it's
Right.
like, the more people they get to buy into it, the more real it's going to become. And I realize this, and that's like with anything in life, right? The reason why we hold the dollar so true is because we all believe it's valuable. And so the same thing goes with NFT. So the more they push content, the more everyone's like, I need to get it, it's gonna become more valuable. But if we're like, you know what, I'm good off that, it's not gonna be that big of a thing. If
It's
you
just
get
as
me.
it's just as much about hype. I guess that's not the most popular term for it, but building a buzz around something, because currency, the value of currency is what we decide it is, right? Money only
Exactly.
has paper money, like only has power because we give it power. Diamonds are
Exactly.
diamonds are the most valuable gemstone in terms of what we value from a level of importance or significance, because we make it so. So with that being said, you're right. Like becoming a novice or wading into those different fields, it's just expanding your mind and expanding your palette in regards to what's out there for people of color in regards to wealth, and just creating a different quality of life for yourself. Because all we've ever really been told is minimum wage, middle class, 40 acres and a mule, reparations. Like, it's kind of just a regurgitation of the same thing that we've been being fed for so long. And now that, again, with you as a pillar of it, Black people in culture, Black people in content creation, is on the rise. And with content, with seeing faces like yours and mine, there's a level of responsibility to get that information out there in the street. So kudos to you, in regards to holding it down for us in terms of giving us that news. I had Domity Pongo from MTV on the show a little while ago. Real good friend of mine, Simone D. Sanders, obviously has been occupying the space. She just got a new show on Peacock. Shout out to Simone.
MSNBC.
But it's faces like yours and influences like yours and Simone's and Domity's that we need in order to kind of continue to give us, the word on the street in terms of how we can go from this space to that space. And it's giving a level of legitimacy to the Black dollar and to the Black space. So, but I ain't gonna let you off the hook though. While you here, I know you're a Syracuse grad, Newhouse grad. So coming from a Big East school, we're gonna talk a little bit of sports today. I hope I ain't sandbag you or sabotage you. Before we get off into it, I want to let y'all know that we everywhere that podcasts live: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all of that. Make sure y'all hit us up in the YouTube. This video's in your phone right now. Make sure y'all check us out on the socials. The Hitmen Podcast on Instagram, labeled and on Instagram. Hit us up in the mailbag with any questions for me or for Keith today. The Hitmen Podcast at gmail.com. You heard?
Real quick, I want to throw one more thing out there. That's cool.
Throw it.
Yeah, because I think as much as NFT, the metaverse, yes, it's a lot of hype, right? Supply and demand. That's how you get anything to be something.
Word.
But I think it's a real opportunity. And I think it's worth, your listeners to really take a hard look at, what are NFTs? What is this cryptocurrency? Does it work for me? I would never advise anyone, if you don't have it, don't spend your last dollar on trying to figure it out. But if you have a little bit of extra money, throw it in there and figure it out, because for so long, as you mentioned, Black people were told no to this, no for that, or criminalized on things, right? In 2021, I think $24 billion was made from marijuana. And yet it's people like you and me who are in jail for the rest of their lives because of it. And there's so many corporations making so much money off of it. Same with alcohol and so many other things. So it seems like for a lot of people, there's excitement around this whole crypto space because finally we can kind of get in on the ground floor or something. So it's definitely something to look into, check out. Like I said, I'm not an expert on it, but I know you can kind of build, create your own wallet and just kind of play around with things. But right now, I know Bored Apes and different NFTs are really buzzing. So
Boom.
just look that up, and I think you'll find some interesting things there.
You make a lot of good points, man. I think it's just as much about anything else as a cultural thing. We in particular don't trust what's not a sure thing. What's not in our hand, we can't feel it, we can't touch it, we can't process it. It's just as much as anything when it comes to real estate investment, when it comes to stocks, when it comes to even now, like on a lower level, we're gonna get into the sneaker rundown, but just what sneakers do in terms of aftermarket sale. Now everybody's getting into sports betting. Sports betting just became legal in New York City a week and a half ago. FanDuel is going galactic. You feel what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where if I can comprehend it, if it's tangible, if I can see it in my hands or I can imagine it in my hands, I can grasp that concept, then I'm all in. A lot of times when it comes to cryptocurrency, when it comes to stocks, when it comes to NFTs, these things are beyond our realm of comprehension because it's not taught in the hood. It's not taught in PS, right? It's not taught in public school.
Are we gonna get there? You feel like? Do you feel like we'll get to
absolutely.
A point where? Okay,
1,000%. I can't remember the young lady's name that you interviewed a couple of weeks ago, but she wrote a children's book about teaching young brown and black girls about the importance of investing in cryptocurrency. That's groundbreaking stuff. That's something that I'm gonna tell my daughter about. That's not something that was in our textbooks or in our children's books when we were coming up. So teaching financial literacy, especially at an early age, now you're going from teaching your daughter or your son about allowance to teaching them about, hey, this is what generational wealth can start at. It doesn't have to just start when you become an adult and getting that job out of college. You can start that from your piggy bank right now. That's groundbreaking stuff, man.
It is.
And that's information that a lot of times kids that are of a different ilk, a different upbringing, a different socioeconomical status, they're being taught the importance of money very early on while we're teaching our kids about colors and what's their favorite food or their favorite shoe, right? You're teaching that consumerism, whereas the people on the other side of the fence are being taught this is how you get that money out of their pockets and into your pocket. You feel what I'm saying? So it's just another conduit in terms of creating a better quality of life. And I definitely think now our eyes are opening and our young black folks are becoming more and more conscious each and every day. So we're going to get there, and we're going to get there faster than you think. Because think about it, bro. Kids is using cell phones, using smartphones now. Like when you and me was that age, you and I was that age, we was thinking about big wheels, going outside. These kids can teach you how to program. They could teach you how to create production if they really want to. It's YouTube stars that's half our age, a third of our age. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for tomorrow's leaders. It's just one of those things where you apprehensive in regards to your ability to teach, not their ability to learn. I think that's what it is. You scared. I'm a bit scared because I don't know how far they can take it. They've already taken stuff further than what I could have imagined. But yeah, man, I think the future is bright for us, bro. 1,000%.
No, that's a fact, and it's so scary to think when something good comes along, it feels like only a matter of time before it turns to evil, right? I mean, you got the Apple AirTags. Yeah, Apple AirTags was supposed to be something so you could find your phone, find your keys, and now they out here using it to
they slipping them in women's purses. People. You heard? They slipping them in people's purses
crazy.
At the happy hour, following them home. I was just in Charlotte last week, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine where there was a situation that happened at her apartment complex. The very same thing. The guy followed these chicks home, slipped the Apple tag in one of their purses that he met, and it's scary that like you said with it's cliche. I just got through watching Spider-Man. I don't know why it keeps sticking in my head, but with great power comes great responsibility, and if you bastardize power to leverage it for money or to leverage it for influence as opposed to the betterment of society, it can become a scary thing, man. Let's stay here for a second. We're going to get to sports in a minute. Everybody know how we get down. Let me ask you a question. So I was listening to an excerpt from a sermon from Pastor Candace Simpson. Shout out to Candace. She brought up a point over the weekend about Maya Angelou being put on the quarter, right? She said it's not disparaging Maya Angelou at all. She's a pioneer. She's a luminary in our community and in our culture. but there are better ways to acknowledge her and her efforts for us. Especially when you think about it, it's kind of ironic and can be viewed as insulting that Maya Angelou her image is being put on the quarter when at some point in this country, black folks were being used as physical currency.
Absolutely.
You feel what I'm saying? So, not to mention the fact that we still ain't got our tub dubs. You feel me? We still don't have our Harriet Tubman 20s. They promised them joints came and went. But it's just one of those things where, like, in a world where the black vote is sought after, you spoke about it a little earlier, where we're going to be in the midterms, and every time they need our help, they come out to try to placate to the black vote. But then when we try to hold folks accountable for what are you going to do for this vote, you know, we gave y'all our support. Now you need to come out in droves and do what you promised. And a lot of times we're left holding the bag. And a situation like that with Maya Angelou, and it was a limited series. It's not like it's going to be her. It was saluting a plethora of women, and Maya Angelou just happened to be the first one. But
right,
it's kind of like they was expecting us to throw a ticker tape parade and shoot fireworks off of that. It's like, nah, that's cool, but we've been celebrating Maya Angelou. We've been asking for statues. We've been, you know, singing her praises and showing up to the African American Museum in D.C. and showing our love. If this is the best that we can get, it's like, this is cool, but like we ain't really finna be doing backflips for that.
No, everything you said, I mean, it's crazy. I was actually just looking back. 'Cause I wrote something actually last year, January, on Harriet Tubman, because once again, as much as, I don't know, U.S. Treasury or whoever's idea came up with it, they're like, yo, black people celebrate this. And for the most part, to be honest, like far and wide, black people were like, we did not ask for this, right? Because to put any monetary value on any person is crazy, right? You put Harriet on the $20 bill, and it's like, yo, why couldn't she be on the $100 bill? Right, you put Maya on the 25-cent, like put her on the $2 coin, make up a coin, right? But at the end of the day,
especially when coins are becoming decirculated, like we're into the digital space. People tap their cards, they tap their watch to pay for stuff. Y'all gonna give us a coin? Like what? Who uses quarters anymore? Except for when you going to do your laundry,
the laundromat, right?
Literally, I was doing that last week. So you feel we on the same type of time, bro. We on the same page with it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. You know, and I think that's just being black in America, right? I know you got probably black listeners and all different types of folks who listen to this podcast, and I think being black in America is the craziest concept, right? Like I look at black police officers and I'm like, wow, like you're really a police officer. Like the same, you know, it came from slave trades and people literally trying to hunt down slaves, and now you're an officer. You're doing that. Right. And there's just so many different occupations and this and that. And it's like, as black people, I want us to do whatever the F we want to do. Right. But at the same time, like just knowing the history is so much, it gets so complicated. But yeah, like instead of, you know, the 25 cents, the $20, like let's start figuring out a way to actually give black people some kind of reparations. I think people have been asking for that. They've been showing why we deserve it. So start there. But it just feels like instead of doing that, we just kind of keep getting the end around. Like, oh, we'll give you this. Oh, we'll give you that. Like, we didn't ask for that. So,
and don't you feel a little bit more American when this comes your way? Like that's the message, like, because they want you to buy into Americana. But hey, man, look, we on the same type of time. I'm just trying to make sure my quality of life is good. I don't want nobody threatening my beliefs. I'm not going to threaten yours. We could go all day and night about this situation. But my thing is like, not sounding like a petulant child, but we deserve a little bit more than that. A lot more than that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just where I'm coming from. Y'all know how we do this shit, though, man. Let's get off into the show. Let's get off into sports for a little bit and get away from that foolishness. We're going to start with the Woo Off the Bams. We full-fledged into Wild Card Weekend. Playoff football is underway. Like I said, I'm fresh off a bird. I was in L.A. last night. Checked out the Rams giving the paintbrush to the Cardinals. Odell Beckham, first touchdown in the postseason. He even threw a touchdown. He threw a pass.
Yeah.
Fucked a bunch of people FanDuel up last night. They take the win. They demolished the Cardinals in the NFC West matchup. This was the third time they played this season. And they earned a one-way trip to Tampa Bay to take on the King. You feel me? Going to take on Tom Brady next week in the divisional playoffs. I know you're not a big football guy, man, Keith, but just talk about, if you can, like Tom Brady's dominance. He's been in and out of championships. Him and LeBron are kind of like parallel in that regard. They've been in and out of the championship conversation since you was a kid, since you was in high school. I remember watching Tom Brady in the Super Bowl when I was in high school. I'm a grown man with a kid now. You feel me?
Yeah.
And he's getting ready to go back down that road to try to get his 8th ring. Me being from Chicago, it kind of hurt my heart a little bit because he already got more rings than Mike. But now it's like, damn, 8? Like,
that's crazy.
We can't even be top dogs no more. I don't even know how to handle it. But growing up in Jersey, like, who did you follow football like that when you was coming up?
Yeah. I was a Giants fan growing up my entire life. Still to this day, Tiki Barber, Michael Strahan. Obviously Eli for a while, and even Amani Toomer, and we had Odell for a minute. I think honestly the storyline that was setting up is actually really beautiful, right? We had earlier in the season, Odell was in a bad place. Things wasn't going well. His father posting on Instagram talking about they're missing all these passes, and so he ends up on the team. He balls out last game.
Word.
Then you got Tom Brady. As great as he is, he's also probably one of the most hated players in the league just because he is so great, so dominant.
That was me.
I think I saw a post today that said he's older than every defensive coordinator left in the postseason, which is crazy, right? Speaking of his age, but he keeps performing, right? And I think even if you hate LeBron, you hate MJ, you have to respect their game. And I think the same thing goes with Brady. So me personally, as specifically a lifelong Giants fan, I hate the Patriots, right? I hate everything the Patriots stand for, right? Talk about America and Americana, right? And Tom Brady, even though he's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a whole nother team, he's still a Patriot, right? And then, he aligned himself with Trump at one point in time. And so I can't get that out of my head, but I respect what he does on the field, in and out, right? I mean, you had the Antonio Brown fiasco a couple weeks, and they're still performing, still winning. So I think, Odell, Tom Brady, is clashing, right? In some ways, it almost reminds me of like Jake Paul versus whoever black guy he's facing, right? It almost feels like it's white versus black. Who's gonna come out on top? But Tom Brady is amazing, right? I don't like him personally, but as an athlete, as just a winner, you can't argue. You cannot argue, and what he's done is really incredible. He's in his 40s now, still just killing it. I think that goes just to speak to that overall wellness, taking care of your body. But, I mean, what he's doing is really dynamic. So, shout outs to him.
I had my boy MG on the show last week, and we was talking about vampires, and I forgot them too. You mentioned Tom Brady. He's looked the same way for about 20 years. And Michael Strahan, too. Michael Strahan been looking the same. He been looking our age since he was, probably 15, 16 years old. So, I'll bring that to your attention later. It was just something that we was talking about last week. But, yeah, man, the Rams and the Bucks moving on. I think I got Tampa Bay going to the NFC Championship again. It's
hard to bet against Tom Brady. How you going to bet against him?
I mean, I do it still. I do it still. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do it still. The same way I bet against LeBron. It's just I just can't get it out of my head, bro. Like,
I feel you.
I was talking about LeBron yesterday, like when he broke his hand, and never mind. We'll get to the NBA in a second. The winner of LA and Tampa Bay is going to take on the winner of the next game that I want to talk about, which is going to be San Francisco heading up to Green Bay, take on Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers looked like he's locked in to win back-to-back MVPs. He was named to the NFL's All-Pro team earlier this week, 4th time in his career, I believe. They locked up the number 1 seed in the NFC early. The 49ers coming off the game against the Cowboys that they did everything in their power to try to lose it, and the Cowboys just did a little bit more to give it up at the crib. This should be a paintbrush. This should be a spanking, like a public beating out in Green Bay. And I've been up there to that stadium. I've been to those games in the snow. It's nothing nice, especially for a California team. Jimmy Garoppolo's a Chicago guy, but I think this game is going to be over before halftime between you and me.
Wow. That's interesting. I don't think about the other factors outside of the actual gameplay, but like the cold, the air quality, all of that. But I think everything you said is right. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, once again, another guy I think people love to hate. I think after the whole COVID fiasco, it was just like, man, this guy. But he is a winner, right? He goes out there, he performs. The team is solid. And yeah, the 49ers, I mean, it's crazy. So many Cowboys fans are still hurt to this day.
Salt dog, you feel me?
Yeah, but I think out the two, it seems like Green Bay, they want it a little more right now. They're poised to do what they got to do, but they have to come and perform. I think that's at the end of the day.
And they rested. What is
right,
bro?
Which is a good thing or possibly a bad thing.
So I just got a text from my OG, from my mama. Nah, she was like, I'm hungry. I really want some taco. What she say? No, what did she say? I gotta read this right. It's like your mind playing tricks on you. She goes, I want a sandwich. I really want a sandwich. You know what I ain't had in a long time? Chipotle. They don't make sandwiches at Chipotle. Nah, what? People be old. People just be old. Anyway, she throwing me off from the show. I'm trying to do my show. Mama damn.
People be old. That's
yeah,
crazy.
man. Anywho, yeah, I got Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady running it back for the NFC Championship.
Do you bet every week?
No. I don't bet every week. I'm just again, like, I work in sports. I just, like I said, I was at the Rams game last night. I was in Philly last week checking out the Cowboys blew out Philly 52 to something in Philly. So I'm like, all right, they gonna be at the crib. They definitely going over. Bro, they did everything they could to get out of that game. Cedric Wilson had a terrible play, a lateral play. They was trying to do all the trick plays and stuff. Not only that, but the Cowboys, you hear the term all the time now, keeping it P, right? Everybody trying to keep it P. The Cowboys definitely kept it P, as in penalized. They had over 100 yards in penalties, either resulting in a first down for the 49ers or resulting in a first down being taken away from them. You feel what I'm saying? So they did everything in their power to keep it away, like keep the wind out of their hands. They was throwing into the sun. I don't know if you caught any of the game, but like the stadium, they had the roof open, and the sunlight was coming in to where they couldn't even see it, so they was losing the ball in the sunlight. And then, of course, everybody knows what happened at the end of the draw play that left them with no time on the clock. That was a terrible call in itself, and people been trying to explain it away. People been trying to make excuses for them. They were in the media, in the press conferences, talking about, the refs got in our way, and then when they made a bad call, they disappeared into the night. No, it shouldn't even got to that point. If you supposed to be a big dog, y'all supposed to blew the 49ers out. They was already coming in injured. They don't want the quarterback. They drafted the quarterback number 3 overall last year, and y'all let them beat y'all. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to Green Bay. I know you can't really discount these teams, LA or San Francisco, but I'm looking forward to the rematch in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers against Tom Brady for the rights to go back to LA for the Super Bowl. Speaking of which, have you been hearing the rumors that they might move the Super Bowl to Dallas because of the COVID protocols out in LA?
Wow. No, I have not, but I would not be surprised. I think they just moved the Grammys to Las Vegas, and so it seems like everybody is just moving to try to keep things going, which, I get it. But just knowing that it's even disproportionately affecting us as black people, that's the part that I'm like,
They said Dr. Dre
still gonna go.
They said Dr. Dre might be losing all this bread because he put a bunch of money into the stage. He's supposed to be the headliner for the halftime.
Oh wow.
Show. Him, Snoop, Mary J, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar. You don't get paid to perform at the Super Bowl. It's really about exposure and about making a cultural difference. And the fact that they may be moving it from SoFi to AT&T Stadium. I don't see why he.
So what's the protocols right now out there?
I don't even know. Like
they had a game.
We had the game yesterday. We had the fans that were yesterday. No masks on, obviously.
Right.
Which is insane to me. But you had to show a vaccination for us, at least for our staff. We had to show vaccinations in terms of getting in and out of the building, being on the grounds. So I don't know. Maybe it is just rumor, but that was one of the things that they were talking about. And Dr. Dre had shown his displeasure because he's not just coming regular. Dr. Dre.
Right. They've been talking about this for a minute.
No, and he's coming with a full sound stage, a full experience. If it don't sound right, it ain't right. Dr. Dre, he's all about the beat. So if it ain't sounding right, I ain't coming out, I ain't performing. And that's supposed to be a performance for you talking about the next episode. Right. Gin and Juice. You talking Still Dre. They coming out with the 6'4" on hydraulics. Kendrick Lamar, we ain't heard from Kendrick Lamar in forever. He probably been in the cryo chamber getting his album together, so you know it's gonna be amazing. Snoop, Mary J, Eminem, it was supposed to be on fire, and hopefully it still will be. So it's just one of them things where a great game with a top contender on top of that halftime show. For it to be taken away from LA, brand new stadium, brand new experience, it would be a shame. But I think that they're gonna stand pat. I think it's gonna end up working out. On the AFC side of things, the Bengals, Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, they took out the Raiders. Another game that was filled with penalties and mistakes. Joe Burrow had that one-legged touchdown that they tried to call back. Bad officiating, but they did what they supposed to do. Got their first playoff win in 31 years. You how old? How you just turned 30, right?
I just turned 30.
So your whole life you went without the Bengals winning a game. You feel what I'm saying? You living in history right now, big dog.
Right.
And then on the other side of things, the Kansas City Chiefs got Big Ben ass up out of here finally. They weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs, but they took them down at home. I'm thinking
it's crazy every time you mention someone, like I just think of like something they did in their personal life, which I understand shouldn't necessarily always come, but Big Ben, he need to be up out of here. Like he got too many allegations, 1,000%. And it's just like
1,000%.
Yeah, it's time he needs to go sit down. He needs to go sit down. He needs to go sit down.
Straight up and down. But Kansas City moving on. They're taking on the Buffalo Bills, who knocked out the Patriots, who we just talked about, Bill Belichick.
Buffalo, I think they could be a sleeper. I mean, they got so many fans. The fans are hungry.
Shout out Griselda,
hungry for a win.
The Butcher Conway. You feel me?
Right.
They big supporters. Bills Mafia.
Big in the music scene, and they hungry right now. And obviously Patrick Mahomes is just the wonder kid and whatnot. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills surprise some folks because they want to win. They want to win.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they took it all away, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they fail miserably because they've been an up and down team all year. Stephon Diggs ain't had a touchdown.
I'm about to say Diggs. Yeah.
His brother outshined him this year. He's an all-pro with led the league in interceptions for a little while. So I don't really know. The other thing is the Bills and Chiefs both playing cold weather cities. Kansas City has snow right now. Buffalo was OD a couple weeks ago when they were on Monday Night Football. They had snow everywhere, swirling winds everywhere. It's hard to even function in that, let alone play football in that. So I think the Kansas City Chiefs caught fire at the right time. I think they're going to make this their third consecutive year playing in the Super Bowl. And Pat Mahomes is out for blood because of how they went out against Tampa Bay last year. This low-key could be Tom Brady's last season. People are not talking about it. They just setting it as automatic. But let's not forget he's a 44 on his way to being a 45-year-old man. You feel me? It could be one hit away, one bad play away, and one Super Bowl loss away. At some point, like, man, I'm tired of losing the Super Bowl. He done won as much as he done lost. So we'll keep it locked in and see what goes on with that. Last thing I want to talk about in the NFL bands before we move on to the NBA, and this is definitely a big part of a big reason why I got you on the show. David Culley was just let go as a head coach of the Houston Texans after one season, given the Deshaun Watson debacle. The NFL now is down to one African-American coach, not to mention 0 owners of color in the league, but they're down to one, Mike Tomlin, who's probably not just the only African-American coach, but one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL, period. So had it not been for his continued success in Pittsburgh, he's never had a losing season since he became the head coach in Pittsburgh, being alongside Ben Roethlisberger, and including a Super Bowl win and a Coach of the Year award some time ago. We could very well be looking at a league where there are 0 African-American head coaches. And it took for Mike Tomlin to overachieve, to over-exceed expectations in the league, where there have been coaches that have had losing records and have had second and third chances. Philbin in Dallas, who's a defensive coordinator, I can think of as one. He was the head coach in Miami. Didn't get it done. Brian Flores is out now. He's one of the hot candidates.
That was a big surprise.
Yeah, he's one of the hot names on the wire to become a head coach elsewhere. The Chicago Bears, I know, are lining up as one of the candidates for him, as well as Byron Leftwich, who has been money everywhere he's gone, including being the offensive coordinator out in Tampa. He used to play in Jacksonville. They gave Urban Meyer a chance, who's never had any NFL experience. But I said all that to say, bro, a league where we only have one NFL coach who's African-American representation, there's something wrong there. You know what I mean?
Oh, Yeah, I mean everything is wrong with it. I think there's the immediate frustration, like with the league. I actually looked it up the other day. It's like the league is 66 or something
I
percent
was just
black.
about to say it. You
You
took the
know,
words out of my head.
and so
Exactly.
yeah, I mean with a league 66% black, there's literally no excuse, right? You could say everything you want, and then you got guys like I don't even know the guy's name, the head coach of the Eagles. I remember when he did his first
Sirianni
press conference,
was
he
awful.
just sounded
Awful.
dumb.
Remedial. I went in on it
Remedial.
when he had that. We played the clip here when he first got hired, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Tomlin, there's another, stat floating around. I think he's never had a losing season, which is unheard of. And it makes it feel as though the bar is you cannot lose, right? And then you think about all these coaches who have, not only do they have so many losing seasons, but they lose a job and then they end up somewhere else, right? And then I'm thinking of Lynch from the 49ers, who was like a player and out of
John
nowhere
Lynch,
became like a
an
GM.
executive, right.
And I'm like, wait, we have to go and be a high school coach, a college coach, work our way up, be the equipment manager to hopefully get a chance to become a scout, defensive coordinator, all this stuff. And it's
how
like,
about the fact that Bill Belichick has both of his sons on his staff?
right. I mean, that's just how it goes. So there's the frustration, it's so obvious that it's wrong, like we're gonna go beyond that. And then it comes to me, it's like, at what point do you keep expecting something different from someone that continues to do the same thing over and over, right? We wanted so much to come from Kaepernick. Nothing really happened, right? We got the Racial Justice Coalition with Jay-Z, got a couple hot performances, cool, all that. But the NFL really is all about the money. And so with these owners that have no one's holding them accountable, they don't have to answer to anybody, right? And then it's actually wild, and I don't like to always go there, but that's the way my mind works. You have all these black players with white owners and white coaches. It really is like slavery 3.0, right? It's different. You're getting paid, but you have to do what you got to do. If you don't play injured, i.e., Brown and whoever else, it was a player last night in the LA game who said he didn't even want to get a steroid shot because Tyrod Taylor got his lung punctured, and so he's like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah.
And so it's just crazy seeing all this happen. There's another player who just got arrested for running in kids. Did you see that? There was a player, I don't even know what team, 25-year-old black dude who got arrested for running up in a kids facility butt naked. And so there's all this CTE happening, all this trauma, and we can't even become head coaches. It's really disgusting to me. And Florida's will end up fine, but the fact that let's even say there's two, and given the job he
32
did,
teams, one head coach, with the possibility of maybe 3 or 4 with Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich, Brian Flores getting back in. Yeah, 3.
Even Byron is the heart and soul of that team, and it's taken him to outperform to even get a look. You know what I mean? And half these coaches probably never played a lick of football in their life. Stop that pee-wee. Right, you got all these qualified black coaches. It's really frustrating. It's another example of where we are in the country and how we have to work in every field, including sports, which we dominate.
Yeah.
But I guess here's the hoping for the future.
That's gonna do it for the NFL Bands. Again, make sure y'all hit us up on the socials, Instagram at Hitmen Podcast, at Labeled and Known. Hit us up in the mailbag, the Hitmen Podcast at gmail.com. Let's talk NBA a little bit, man. Some of the game's brightest stars, as we're right at the midway point of the season, taking huge, significant blows. KD out 4 to 6 weeks with an MCL sprain. Zach LaVine from the Bulls, number 1 in the league with a bullet. He's also out with an MCL sprain. This is not the right time for folks to be going down. Draymond is out for the Warriors right when they got Clay back. It's just one of those things where right when the league is getting healthy and it's becoming must-see TV night after night after night, boom, you get hit with an injury. Boom, you get hit with a COVID outage. Boom, you get hit with load management. We still haven't seen Ben Simmons. We still haven't seen Kawhi Leonard. They just announced Anthony Davis is out for the Lakers for another 3 weeks. Paul George is out for another couple of weeks. And it's just like, man, we are dragging ourselves, limping across the finish line for the past 3 years when it comes to the NBA. And it's one of those things where you and I both are avid NBA fans. I just hate to see the league in the way that it is. Now, for the sake of argument, and I hate that it's like this, But when you talk about the owners, governors, whatever you want to describe them as, it's hard for you as a Marquise Francis who says, hey, I'm leading the Knicks in scoring. I'm filling Madison Square Garden with seats. I want $120 million. But you only played 50 out of 82 games because you were unhealthy. You caught COVID. You didn't want to play this night or that night because, we playing, Memphis, or we playing Sacramento. I'm not playing tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the state of the league right now when it comes to injuries and star players not making those towns do for you as a fan? Does that make you fall more or less out of love with wanting to watch the NBA night in, night out?
Personally, it doesn't make me fall out of love. It's just unfortunate. I'm a Knicks fan, right?
Word.
So for the most part, the Knicks is okay. I know Derrick Rose has been out a minute, but
y'all got Kevin Knox up out of there though the other night. Y'all got Cam
They got
Reddish.
Kevin Knox. We got Cam Reddish, which is crazy because there's a clip that they keep showing of like a bunch of these top high school guys. And when Anthony was in high school, it was like, yo, who's the toughest dude you need to guard? And they all answered Cam Reddish. So now we got him. So I'm kind of hyped. But, besides Derrick Rose, I mean, it gives an opportunity for Emmanuel quickly to step up and all these other young guys, the rookies, dude out of Houston and West Virginia to step up. So I'm cool personally. I understand the league is down at the Lakers. I mean, you want the Knicks and the Lakers to be good, right? The Lakers are just out of sorts. Anthony Davis hasn't played. Westbrook is throwing the ball off the back of the backboard. He had a nice dunk.
He had a great game last night, though.
He had a nice dunk. He had a nice posterized last night. But you got LeBron out here on Twitter apologizing on behalf of the team. It's getting that bad.
That's after Magic came out and called them out, though. He kind of had to do that. Magic came out and said no effort, no sense of urgency. And LeBron, you already know the PR monster. He was like, nah, we got to step out in front of this. Because Russell came out and kind of dismissed it. He's like, yeah, Magic's entitled to his opinion. Of course he is. He's an icon, not just for the Lakers, but for the NBA. Like, he bridged the gap when it came to the NBA being must-see TV, him and Larry Bird. So, yeah, I can say whatever I want to say when it comes to the Lakers, dog. And you in my spot. I was the point guard. You the point guard. So, LeBron was like, nah, we need to handle this a little bit better than that because Magic Johnson still got some stroke around, you feel me, around the arena.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think overall, though, it's funny because you mentioned, obviously, for the NBA, for filling the seats, for selling out all the money, this is the terrible time. But it also makes me feel like, is this a good thing for later on in the season, right? Come playoff times, are you going to get a healthy KD, a healthy Levine, a healthy, Clay working his way back up? And so, obviously, I think it's almost like even the stock market. You hate to see when it's down, but it's actually the best time to buy. And so, I wonder, is this actually a positive for the longevity of the league, right?
You make a point.
Kawhi is apparently, Kawhi is ahead of schedule. He wasn't supposed to play this year. He could now come, get 10, 15 games at the end of the season. Now you got him, Paul George, fresh. All the other teams is beat down. So, I mean, definitely I think from a fan's perspective, you got, Kyrie playing half the games, which is disappointing because he's such a talent. First game out the gate, 20-plus points. But I think it's an opportunity for other guys to step up. That's the amazing thing that I love about it. All these G League players getting an opportunity. Lance Stevenson going off. They had the point guard who played on the Syracuse Summer League TBT team going off. And so you got a lot of guys stepping up, getting an opportunity, which I love. I think that's what life should be about, getting an opportunity, rising to the occasion. And so I think everything's going to be over.
Let me ask you this, though. Just, again, playing devil's advocate. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. If I'm going to Madison Square Garden, you feel me, to see Julius Randle, D. Rose, Obi Toppin, and RJ, and I pay for 100 level tickets, $750 a ticket, and instead of Julius Randle, D. Rose, Obi Toppin, RJ, I get whoever. You feel what I'm saying?
Whoever else. Yeah.
Am I getting a fair shake as a Knicks fan? Because if I don't come to the game, if I watch it on MSG, if I watch it on Yes, Julius Randle can get in a press conference and go, yeah, we're not getting the support from the fans that, we would need. Y'all, we feed off y'all energy. We need y'all to come to the arena. We need y'all to da-da-da-da-da-da. But when I come to see y'all play the Pacers, or I come to see y'all play LeBron or the Nets when they come across the city, and you choose to not play, or you injured or you hurt, Should I still be responsible for paying that $700, $850 for that ticket? Should I still be responsible for paying that $250, $300 for your jersey when you not playing? Should it not be discounted? Should I not get a different price for that game? Because it's not a marquee game. It's not the Warriors. It's not the Lakers.
100%.
It's not, you feel what I'm saying? And a lot of times people go, well, the team is the team is the team is the team is the team. Are you going to support that team or are you supporting a player? Because a lot of times that argument comes up. Well, I ain't a fan of the Lakers. I'm a fan of LeBron. Well, I ain't a fan of the Nets. I'm a fan of KD. Well, I ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, the line has to be drawn because the bottom line is still the bottom line. A dollar is a dollar, or it's like I know I sound like I'm stomping on some old man's lawn, but my thing is like, is a dollar not a dollar if it's 4 quarters? Is a dollar not a dollar if it's 10 dimes? It's still a dollar. But what's the value of that dollar? Like, am I getting the best product that you all can possibly put out? No. And a lot of times they go, well, we should shorten the season. We should put less back-to-backs on TV. But you still want your same 120 million. You still want your same chip and dip commercials. You still want your same State Farm and Kia. You feel what I'm saying? That's just where I'm at with it. These teams that are being trotted out with different lineups, they put a stat up the other night for, was it the Warriors? It's either the Warriors or the Mavericks. They don't put up, last season, they had a different starting lineup like 85% of the time, 85% of the season. But you're still charging me the same price, but it's not the same team every night. So that's just my sense.
I mean, listen. So to answer your question, are you, as a fan, are you getting a fair shake? Absolutely not. And then it's almost just like, it is what it is, right? I mean, I'm trying to think of like a good analogy, but it's like, you know, what's your favorite restaurant?
I'm a bird, Maggiano.
Maggiano, okay, right? So
I love the 2 for 1. Call me basic, whatever. Fuck y'all. I love the fact that I can eat my pasta.
Bird.
I can eat my pasta at the spot, and then I can take one home. It give me the Godfather feel. It's good wine, good time, and it's cheap.
Right. So
Maggiano.
it depends on the waiter you get. But you go there, you pay your $30 or whatever it is for that meal. You enjoy it, cool. You go the next time and it's just not hitting.
Right.
You know, some people are gonna say, "Yo, give back my money." Some people just gonna be like, "Yo, it was a bad night and just I gotta eat it." And so I kind of just feel like the NBA is kind of like that, where it's like, damn, like I did want to see Obi Toppin play, and now I got this guy at Texas, nobody knows their name, but it's just like, I mean, I was still there, so I don't know. It's just weird times. I mean, it's crazy because we're still in COVID. Like, we're in a pandemic, and I just feel like people are acting like, yo, like times is regular, and it's really not.
We outside. I'm keeping it P. I'm keeping it.
Yeah, nah, it's wild. But I feel you. As a fan, you understandably are upset. But the same way they just keeping things rolling. I mean, nothing's gonna stop for a player being hurt, and nothing's gonna stop for that fan being hurt. And so that's just capitalism for you right there.
1,000%. Quick hits. You a Syracuse grad?
Syracuse
alum.
Even though it's been a rough year this year, all sports.
True. You took the words out of my head. I got a game show question for you in a second, but
okay,
I wanted to get your perspective on the state of college sports, period. Because when the pandemic happened, they completely canceled the tournament, right? Then we went from that to arenas. We'll have the games on TV, but fans can't come to the arenas. Fans can't come to the gyms. And now it looks like we back full boat. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I asked you at the beginning of the show, how has COVID affected your travel and your ability to do your job as a journalist. Do you think that the sports world in general, is moving too fast with getting folks back into these arenas and into these confines, given the fact that we still living in a time where we're going through a pandemic, we still don't have a quote-unquote cure, right? And there are new strands coming up every so often. Every other week there's a new strand and there's a new number and a new protocol that we have to work out for. Do you feel that the sports world is speeding past what our health protocols and what our country is prepared to deal with on a regular basis? Because a lot of times these events, especially the Super Bowl coming up, they're saying that these could be super spreader events.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That goes without being said. At this point, it's just money over anything. Nobody cares. It's kind of like everyone knows cigarettes kill you, but it's like everyone is smoking on cigarettes every single day. I
Hookah,
think the
hookah
biggest
too.
issue, oh yeah, hookah too. I think at this point the biggest issue, you talked about protocols. There's no protocol like blanket protocol, right? You go to, a New York Knicks game, you need to show your vaccine card to get in.
Facto.
You go to a Philadelphia 76ers game, you can walk right in, right? And so somebody can drive from New York who had COVID, couldn't go to the Knicks game, but I got COVID, but I'm going to go to that Philadelphia 76ers game.
Word,
So
exactly.
there's just issues there. I think we need blanket protocols. And I understand people not wanting to feel like, oh my gosh, big government is controlling my life. At the end of the day, you're trying to keep people safe. And so, how can you do so that's safe and as non intrusive as possible? And so, and people just got to be honest, right? There's people who are literally hawking up their life, still going out, still not wearing masks. It's just like people just got to like look out for the next person. And I think when it comes to sports, one of the best things they could have did was have people back, or have the players back and not have fans.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they just holistically brought back all the fans, they really don't want it to end, and that's the unfortunate part. Once again, like it goes back to America. America's like an amazing place, but it's such an ugly place when you really think about.
It's a complicated place to
Um,
live for sure.
it's a very complicated place, and so you can make a lot of money, but you could also stab someone in their back while doing it, and it's
A
just
million
so
percent.
wild to think people are doing it constantly, and so sports doesn't care. They don't care as long as they get their money, they're good, and I think that's the mentality a lot of people have. I've been traveling a lot to Atlanta the past year and a half, and it's totally different than New York. At a time where you couldn't even get a drink after 10 o'clock in New York, clubs open to 4 a.m. in Atlanta.
You heard?
So it's just a wild times because there's just not a blanket system that we're all following, and every state is doing what they want to do, and so that's just unfortunate.
We'll get you out of here on this. You a bit of a podcaster yourself with the Emboldened podcast. Y'all just wrapped up y'all second season. Um, Talk to me a little bit about how it came about, where folks can find it, and if you can, because I know you can't say who's your favorite kid or who's your favorite player. Tell me your favorite guest, or just the one that had the biggest impact on you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So the Emboldened podcast, that's a podcast from an organization I was a part of called the Emma Bowen Foundation, which really helps young students of color and match them with communications organizations. So I, throughout all of college, interned at NBC, got my initial job there, and so they
Flex,
have
flex, flex,
corporate
flex, flex.
sponsorships with NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, and the like. So, yeah, my mom always taught me the power of paying it forward, and so with the Emboldened podcast, it's just an opportunity to allow the students who are high school age, college, young in college right now, to see professionals out there getting after it. And
Nice.
folks like myself and my co-host Naima, we're products of this organization, and this is where you can aspire to get to. And so we've had a number of amazing conversations, but one that sticks out is definitely Rachel Scott, who's an ABC correspondent, and she's a black woman,
Shout out Rachel.
aka killing it. Once again, another product of the organization, and she went from a White House correspondent to a congressional correspondent, like everything that you could dream of being if you want to be on news and politics, she is done. And she's like 28 years old, 27, something crazy.
Booming.
And so just hearing her journey, hearing how hungry she was, how she didn't take no for an answer, how she took every opportunity, whether it was something no one else wanted to do, she said, yes, I'll do it, and seeing to where it got her today. I think that's enough inspiration for anybody to just go after your dreams.
That's lit, bro. Y'all just finished our second season. I don't want to rush you. I went through it. It was fire. I'm trying to hit every episode just to show that support because I know how hard it is to produce a podcast, especially when you're coming from the school of thought where I know nothing about it. I don't know how to get started. I don't know how, you know what I mean? Like what's the ins and outs of it? Are we looking forward to season 3 sometime soon?
I think yeah, we're definitely looking forward to a season 3. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure who's the host gonna be. Whether it's gonna be Naeem and I, or we gonna pass the torch. Because as you know, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of time, and At least for me personally, not only am I working at Yahoo doing a bunch of stuff, I'm also an adjunct at my alma mater,
Congrats
Syracuse.
on
So I
that
do
too.
that once a week.
Word.
And so at a certain point, you just got to figure out, okay, what can I do and what do I need to kind of let go and pass the torch on. And so we're letting season 2 simmer a little bit, but we'll rejigger and kind of reconvene and figure out what's the next step for that.
Straight up and down. Make sure y'all go check it out if you haven't. It's in your phone right now, the Embolden Podcast. No rundown this week just because there's not a whole lot coming out. We mentioned the answer fours last week when I had MG on the show, the Eagles colorway. Let's get right into the game show because my brother Keith is here. So we're taking it back to the yard. We're taking it back to the Carrier Dome, right? Game show. So look, I know you remember the six overtimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
UConn, Big East. I don't even know. Was you? No, that's 09, so you wasn't in school then. You might have just been getting ready to go.
I just started. Fall. But that was, I think, in the spring, but yes.
All right, so boom, you watched it though. You checked it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's your question. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. It's a true or false. 6 overtimes. There were a bunch of foul outs in that game. A bunch. You got to give me the over-under of how many players fouled out. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Was it over or under 5 players being fouled out in that game? You got 30 seconds, and your time starts now. Use all your time and think about it. Don't just jump out and answer.
Well, I mean, I know there was players that wasn't supposed to play that ended up like this dude Thomas. I actually know his sister. I know Jerry and folks fouled. I'm gonna go with over just because I know it was crazy, and I know it was a lot. And they really were down to walk-ons, so I'm gonna go with over.
10 seconds. I want you to think about it a little bit more.
Are we talking combined or just Syracuse? Yeah, it's definitely got to be over. I mean, you got 2 teams, 6 overtimes. That's crazy. It's got to be something like 8, 9.
You went over. It was 8 players.
8. Here we go.
8 players fouled out, and Syracuse had to play the 6th overtime with a walk-on the lineup who had only scored a total of 4 points the entire season. But they ended up coming out with the win over the heavily favored UConn Huskies. They had Kemba Walker and Hasheem Thabit on that team.
Check this out. So I don't even think this is like one of those like little known facts. Like I was this close to walking on to Syracuse. Like so I went up there. I wasn't necessarily supposed to play. One of my best friends at the time, he was a manager. He's like, "Yo, we having tryouts. Come through."
Right.
And I just knew it was gonna be crazy. Running drills, all that. I was ready. It was a straight scrimmage, 40 people.
Jeez.
So I was open runs, balling, just going crazy, crossover, just whack. So then Boeheim walks out, picks the final 10. I'm in the final 10. I'm killing it. He points at me, say, "Yo, you bring up the ball." I'm like, "It's game time." Boom, cross over my guy. Should have shot it. And I passed it to this dude.
Bozo.
And he clocked it off the backboard. And I'm just like, bruh. And it came down to it. He picked the final 2. One of them was this other white manager, and then the tall dude. And it's crazy because the assistant coach at the time, Bernie Fine, who actually got caught up years later, he pulled me to the side and was like, "Yo, real talk, you were better. It's just we went with the taller guy, blah, blah, blah." And so that's like my Syracuse basketball story because I played basketball my entire life. Didn't really play in college, but I was this close. And I think it all worked out, pledge capital, all that good stuff. And so, but yeah. It's crazy, but I was almost on the Syracuse basketball team. It's crazy enough.
Shout outs before we get up out of here. This is the part of the show where you can shout out anybody that's been impactful in your life, anything that you've seen in the social media space. And then I also want you to tell folks where they can catch you at, where they can catch your content at, all your socials. Plug. This is the part of the show where you let your light shine, big dog. I appreciate you coming on. But give me your shout outs for the week.
I appreciate you. Number one, thank God. I mean, I love God. Been going to church my whole life, and nothing is possible without him. Shout outs to my mom. I love my mom. I think the things that Black women do on a day-to-day basis is just amazing. Yeah, I mean, just shout outs to everyone that's ever helped me in my life, who paid it forward. Shout outs to everybody listening. Shout outs to you. I mean, I met you as just killing it, photography, and the fact that you continue to travel the world with sports and got this audio. We on here 5 minutes before the show. You got all these sound effects and audio, the video. So
little razzle dazzle, you feel
shout
me?
outs
Nothing
to
major.
you. And my girl, she's listening right now. She brought me chapstick mid episode. So shout outs to her. I know my listeners is crazy. But yeah, that's just about it.
My dog, I appreciate you. Shout out to you for putting on, for not just for me, for pulling up on the show, but pulling up on the culture. Pulling up for the culture. Make sure y'all check my bro out. What's the name of the show again? Is it Time for Change?
Yeah, A Time for Change every
Word.
Tuesday. Yahoo Finance on YouTube.com, wherever. Also, you mentioned social, so Instagram, the Marquise F, on Instagram, Twitter, pretty much it. So
Word.
yeah.
Word. Shout out to Micah Parsons, unanimous rookie selection, making the All-Pro team. He's the only rookie to be selected to the team. That's a huge impact move for the Cowboys, even though they came up short. But Micah Parsons, I became familiar with him at Penn State, and then even through Hard Knocks when they were filming it. Micah Parsons is going to be one of the ones that we're talking about 10 years from now. So salute to Micah Parsons on making the All-Pro team. Shout out to the black podcast that I love and support. Terry Rosen and Cam over at the Terry Rosen podcast. Dino Cardi and KO over at Taper Talk. What's the word? Cody Mack, what's the deal? Be specific. Y'all can catch up on the airways on Power 92. Shout out to my boy Ashley and Vail with the BU podcast out in Japan. Of course, the Supreme Pod, God, Jay Sims, Joe Jack, Young Juice, AE Media, KD over at the Reason to Doubt podcast. My boy MG and Shotty over at the Defining Victories podcast, only on BlitzSportsNetwork.com. Big shout out to my young boy after the Cowboys 49ers game that did the interview with Debo. Hit it.
I mean, it's just amazing, man. I don't go.
Yeah. All right, Debo can do it all. Samuel, you had a crazy game. You was doing it all. 100 total yards and a touchdown. How does it feel being mentioned as a running back and a wide receiver?
I mean, it's just amazing, man. I don't second question anything Kyle asks me to do. I trust him just as well as he trusts me with the ball in my hands, and I just go out here and give him all.
It's hard right here.
Yo, what was going on through your head?
It's hard.
When you guys knew you guys won?
This is you.
Man, actually, I thought I got the first down, but
20 years ago.
you know what I'm saying? Kyle put the kicker out there to pin him back deep, so we didn't pin him back deep. So we got a lot of faith in our defense, and they went out here and got the job done.
So this is between me and you. Do you think it's 49ers year? Do you think you guys
Young
are going
Dylan.
to the Super Bowl?
I think so. We got
All right,
one at a
bet.
time, though. One at a time.
I see you. Man,
Appreciate
great
you.
game,
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And you got MVP last week. Yeah,
Thank you,
great
man.
game.
That's P. That's hard. That's hard.
That's
That's you.
P.
That's you
That's
and me
a fact.
15, 20 years ago, bro. On the
There you
field,
go.
interviewing an NFL player, bro. He's on his way.
Big time.
Shout out to Young Boy. I need him on the show. I got to get his name. I got to get his info. Got to have him on the show. Man, thank you for pulling up on me, bro. Before we get out of here again, I want to remind y'all we everywhere that podcasts live. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. All of that. Make sure y'all hit us up on the YouTube. The video is going to be up sooner than you think. It's in your phone right now as I'm talking to you. Make sure y'all check us out on the Instagram at Hitmen Podcast, at Labeled and Known. Hit us up in the mailbag with questions, comments, concerns, all of that. The Hitmen Podcast at gmail.com. But most importantly, don't ever forget in your life.
What happened here was a miracle, and I want you to acknowledge it.
All right, it was a miracle. Can we go now?
64, we gone. Holla.
Just sucked the gravity out of the target center. Oh!